Hey guys, this is your host Thomas Tyree here from On the Hot Podcast. Today, this would be the Combat Series episode number 132 for you guys today. And to kick off the Combat Series, I'll be sharing my fight summary on the fight that took place in the sport of boxing Friday night between Jake Paul and Anthony Joshua. So, it was Anthony Joshua who defeated Jake Paul by knockout in the sixth round in their heavyweight fight that took place on Netflix, streamed around the world Friday night in the sport of boxing. So my thoughts on the fight between Jake Paul and Anthony Joshua. This was not a good fight for the sport of boxing. It was not a good fight for the sport of boxing. And honestly, you could tell that Jake Paul was there to survive. He didn't have a true game plan, and he was just there to survive for 8 rounds and not get knocked out. But that wasn't the case. And for some boxing fans, they got an early Christmas gift, finally seeing Jake Paul get knocked out. Because to some, he sandbagged the sport of boxing, fighting washed MMA fighters that didn't have a true boxing background or fighting nearly 60-year-old Mike Tyson or other washed and retired boxers. But Jake Paul finally got in the ring with a real boxer in Anthony Joshua. Now, the first 3 rounds was bullshit. Jake Paul was there to survive, running around the boxing ring. Mind you, he made the ring bigger, a 22 by 22 ring, to make sure he was comfortable against Anthony Joshua, running around on his high horse to make AJ catch him. And Jake Paul, when that wasn't happening, he tried to attempt to land takedowns like he was fighting in an MMA fight, trying to land takedowns in an octagon. Clearly, you can't do that in the sport of boxing. I was glad the referee said, cut the bullshit. Fans didn't pay to see this crap. And after that, rounds 5 through 6 is when the fight actually got interesting. Now, to some, I get their approach that Anthony Joshua could have fought better. I agree with that. He was coming off a 15-month layoff and was very cautious in this fight because there was times where Anthony Joshua could have cut the ring off on Jake Paul. But if you guys remember, AJ's last fight was against Danny Dubois in the fall of 2024. He got knocked out for the second time of his boxing career. So I could tell he was trying to knock off the ring rust and had a cautious approach offensively, knowing that Jake Paul is a powerful puncher. So again, rounds 5 through 6 is when the fight really picked up. Jake Paul actually landed some good power shots. And I'm surprised Anthony Joshua didn't get hurt by him because he has been chinny in his boxing career. He's known for that. But when you fight a world-class fighter, Anthony Joshua, that's been around the block, one of the best heavyweights of this generation, former Olympic gold medalist, former unified heavyweight champion, there's levels to this game, and you're going to need more than a lucky puncher's punch to defeat Anthony Joshua. Once Jake Paul landed those power shots, that was it. Once he knew Anthony Joshua was just eating him up, that was it. You could have just wrote off the fight right there. And Anthony Joshua broke down Jake Paul. He broke his spirit. He broke his will, just like he said he would. The power punches were landing. He landed some body shots, some uppercuts. Jake Paul wasn't the same, moving around very gingerly and looked like he was ready to surrender, but wasn't going out without a fight. And Anthony Joshua landed 4 knockdowns on Jake Paul, but that 6th-round knockout, oh my goodness, good night. That hook shot where he landed, he was shooting for the jab, Jake Paul was clinching it up, and then Anthony Joshua just came with a straight hook. There was nowhere for Jake Paul to go but eat the shot. Jake Paul, if I was watching a fight with my girl, and I said, if Jake Paul got up, he would have seen Jesus Christ that night. Because he was in a world of trouble, and Anthony Joshua just knocked out Jake Paul and broke his jaw, man. It's levels to this game, but I'm proud of Anthony Joshua for doing what a lot of people wanted to see. And that's knocking out and defeating Jake Paul in dominating fashion. But Anthony Joshua is now 29-0. He has 26 victories coming away of knockout. And he might have put the ultimate end to Jake Paul's boxing run that realistically started from 2020 all the way to 2025. So you're looking at a good 5-year run for someone that didn't have any boxing background if you're Jake Paul. Now Anthony Joshua is looking to have a massive year in the calendar year 2026. So what's next for Anthony Joshua? A showdown with Tyson Fury definitely is going down in 2026. Now, I said on this podcast, if you guys followed the podcast, I said that Tyson Fury was not going to retire. He was just upset that he lost the 2 biggest fights of his boxing career, one undisputed, and then one unified heavyweight championship fight against Alexander Usyk. The first fight was very close, but I give it to Usyk. The second fight was clearly Alexander Usyk, who defeated Tyson Fury. So when he said he retired, I knew he just needed to game plan, recuperate, and look for a big fight the next following year, 2026. So here we are. the big fight at heavyweight is Anthony Joshua versus Tyson Fury. Now, we should have got that fight 3 to 5 years ago, but here we are. Turkey Al Sheikh will probably give tune-ups to Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury in the first half of 2026. They both are victorious. You'll probably see that fight at Wembley Stadium between Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua to set up one of the biggest fights in UK history at Wembley Stadium. So that fight should have happened realistically 3 to 5 years ago when both were really at the top of their game. But I still think that's going to be one hell of a fight and still one of the biggest fights to be made in 2026 between AJ and Fury. So we're going to get that. And to close out, what's next for Jake Paul? See, the thing is with Jake Paul is he can still do this boxing run if he wants to, but I feel like being that top tier name or that cash cow in the sport, he's no longer going to be that guy because everybody realistically only tune in to see Jake Paul fight a legit fighter, to see the outcome of that fight, and to see Jake Paul get knocked out. We've already seen that, and I don't think Netflix is going to put up this type of money to see Jake Paul fight on a card that's streamed all around the world much longer. Now, Jake Paul, I think he's shown growth, but I don't think he's in the right to get in the ring with the top tier names. I think he should stick to celebrity boxing, what works for him, and do his own fights. And I think he's done one hell of a job promoting for women's boxing. He's put women's boxing on the map, rightfully so, because those women can throw hands just like the men and put on a show just like the men. But Netflix will no longer showcase these big fights. Like I just said, you're not going to see a Jake Paul fight an opponent like Mike Tyson anymore. You're not going to see Jake Paul fight an opponent similar to Anthony Joshua stream live on Netflix anymore, because that goes back to my point. He just got in the ring with a legit fighter. That's what everybody was looking for. And he just lost and got knocked out. That's what a lot of people were tuning in to see these Jake Paul fights for so long. And it got to the point where some believed they were rigged because Jake Paul was just defeating these washed MMA fighters, defeating these washed legends of boxing. But now that Jake Paul has lost to Anthony Joshua, has broken his jaw, will have to drink liquids out of a straw for the next 6 to 7 days. He's moving back down to cruiserweight. But you look at the cruiserweight division, there's no way he can hang with Jai Apatamia. If I pronounce his last name wrong, I apologize. Gilberto Ramirez or David Benavidez. Against real boxers his size, he will seriously get hurt and knocked out and get permanently put out of the sport. But his next fights, I think Jake Paul should go after guys like Tommy Fury. In that rematch, I think that sells. And for Jake Paul to avenge his first loss, he could go after a rematch against Nate Diaz. They fought in the summer 2023, possibly knock out Nate Diaz to build his confidence back up, build his stock back up to some. Again, a rematch against Anderson Silva, someone you already beat, but did get a knockout victory against Tyron Woodley on the undercard of the Jake Paul and Anthony Joshua card. Or you could fight George Masvidal, somebody that's looking like they can make an impact for celebrity boxing / washed MMA fighters to be in the mix now that he's retired from the UFC. So I think those are the routes that Jake Paul should go in. But I think it's all over from here for him to be in that top tier spotlight as a cash cow or demand fights to be streamed live on Netflix, because the jig is up. He's been knocked out. And that's what a lot of people were really tuning in to see this entire time. But that is my fight summary on the fight that took place Friday night between Jake Paul and Anthony Joshua.